Hi, everyone. This is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm and sunny Colorado. I finally have better internet, so I'm going to complete my thoughts on the video I made a little earlier while I was in transit. So, again, 135.3 and 135, the Tesnet, all these things. There's some narrative that's floating around, and I just want to be super, super, super clear, because it's a very unfair narrative that's floating around right now, and it's incredibly corrosive and damaging, and it's got to stop. Let's be clear about process here. How it's always worked with these hard forks from Shelley on has been that a test net is spun up or some form of testing surface, an extensive amount of testing is done. There's an ongoing dialogue between the stake pool operators, exchanges, and now dApp developers, and people from the Cardano Foundation, and people from Emergo, and people from Input Output. There are people whose day job it is to engage in that ongoing dialogue. That dialogue has been going on for years now. Daily, weekly, numerous channels, back and forth, extensive conversations and testing, lots of questions here and there. There are people whose full-time job it is to do nothing but facilitate that dialogue. That's been true throughout. 135, we believed on our side, was going to be the node that we could hard fork from as a final series of tests. As we've always done, the testnet was hard forked. It existed. People started integrating with it, and then it was discovered that there was a critical issue in that node, the elliptic curve implementation, and that broke the testnet. Now, we had to fix it, and there was a series of back and forths and discussions and additional testings and layers of work that was done, which resulted in the cutting of 135.1 and 135.2. It was discovered that there were still some lingering issues, which resulted in 135.3, which then was extensively tested, and we got to a point where we felt very comfortable and confident in it, which led to a series of communications that occurred, I believe, last week about 135.3, where we started saying to the FPOs, begin testing on your side. Now, we need to start getting this node out there. People have to begin testing the node. So it led to me tweeting that people should start upgrading to 135.3, as I believe 17%, according to Pool Tool, have already done so and are making blocks with in a mixed node environment. And it's very important to understand that, again, the vast majority of the new features, the code, the capabilities of 135.3 have already been tested and integrated against when the testnet was out. Now, some SPOs expressed concerns, so we had a call with them. Many came together. There was an ongoing dialogue, and they said, well, we would like additional test infrastructure, of which Sam Leathers and other people were there and were very accommodating and said, yeah, okay, if that's what you want to upgrade, we will accommodate. So we started the process for that. Then some SPOs decided to go and make podcasts with incredibly incendiary titles about how catastrophic bugs are preventing Cardano from updating. And predictably so, the dishonest crypto media is now running articles, the most recent of which is from Crypto Briefing. There's a broader point about where to communicate and process. It's clear from the enormous amount of effort that we put in and you put in as a community that we're in an active dialogue and that people matter, especially given that the upgrade decision is made by the SPOs, not us. And there are channels for these things where deep debates and dialogue can happen. There is the SIP process where deep debates and dialogue can happen. If you choose, and it's your choice, to use Reddit, Twitter, Telegram, or other channels for that debate and dialogue, nothing meaningful will be accomplished. No real technology will be developed. No real conclusions will be drawn. You'll just incite a flash mob, wild speculation and opinions, and ultimately sensational comments, which will be used to harm the integrity of the project, will be used to harm the perception of the project. From today, what a lot of people in the cryptocurrency space who aren't in the Cardano sphere are going to take away from this isn't that there are checks and balances and that Cardano is actually really decentralized and that one group of people can hold another group of people accountable, which is all true. They're going to take away the headline, catastrophic bug, Cardano. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Because this is the level of discourse in our industry and the level of maturity in our industry. Just how they operate, how they think. And if that's your end, if that's what you want to accomplish, well, mission accomplished. But if you want to actually engage, then understand that there is a process for that. There are people whose full-time job is to do so. There's community managers. There are developers. There are infrastructure people that you have known, you've met, you've worked alongside and had conversations. You've interviewed on your podcasts. They're here to work with you and for you to get us over the finish line and get Vasil out. There's a lot of egg on our face from 135. It's always a shitty situation when a testnet doesn't work out the way that you think. And that so late in the pipeline, a bug can slip through. And it calls into question all of the lists of things that need to be done. So will there be a postmortem? Of course. Will there be an extensive discussion and an analysis of this? There's already a workshop planned for it in September for just this thing. We are aware of it. And, you know, I wish we had a backseas on that particular event and this particular issue. But let's be clear about something. There's still the use of formal methods. There's still the use of extensive Q&A. There's still developers working 24/7 right now to make sure things are where they need to go. And the vast majority of the code we're talking about, the vast majority of it has been extensively tested in many different operating scenarios. It's just a fact. You can't escape that fact. The correction of the incumbent testnet, whether we implement a disaster recovery or shut it down and create a new testnet, is not connected to the launch of Vasil. Already, right now, in a mixed node environment, 135.3 is running, and it's running against other nodes. Things are happening. New testnets will be spun up. There's pre-production and so forth. People are playing around with these things. There's extensive internal testing as well. A lot of people have, because we've been in this game for a long time, a lot of capability to test things. And guess what? Nothing's changing. You can't just ask for, we need more testing. You have to say, what do you want to test? What tests do you want to write? What scenarios do you want to run? What environments do you want to deploy into? And you can't conflate a failed testnet with the mainnet, because testnets are constructed and destroyed all the time in this industry. That's their point. They're used to play around with things and break things. Ethereum's had dozens of issues with prior testnets and shadow nets and so forth. And you read about them in the crypto media. They're not big events. And they in no way, in any way, harm Cardano itself. No funds have been lost. No keys have been hacked. No nodes have collapsed. Right now, today, transactions are being processed on Cardano just like they were the day before and the day before that. That's just a fact. Unfortunately, the headlines are now catastrophic bug Cardano. And that's what's going to stick in consumers' minds. And it's going to take a lot of marketing and discussion to be able to get that to unstick. Also sticking in their minds now is that Vasil is probably not going to ship this year, which is bizarre because we are almost there. It's now in the hands of others. And of course, discussions are going to be held and things are going to be done. But the features are there. They work. They're tested very thoroughly. There's a high degree of confidence in them. There's no reason for it not to get over the finish line imminently. But it's going to stick in the mind that Vasil is not going to ship, which which means less people will migrate to the project, less commercial interest in the project, and ultimately less adoption for Cardano. Those are the real life consequences of using Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, or other channels, YouTube shows, to discuss issues that frankly should be discussed with process, in direct engagement with each other. There is a point for dialogue. That's why the SIT process exists. That's why all the testing frameworks exist. Can they be improved? Of course. Is there lots of on-chain governance coming? Of course. There's a whole open source group, members-based organization that's currently under construction to create more inclusivity, checks and balances and layers of things for the project. There's every desire to create this because you, the community, are a resource. You're not an adversary. You're not a downstream customer. You produce Cardano as much as we do or anyone else does. And what we've proven today is Cardano is actually decentralized. That's great. That makes me happy. It should make you happy. But at the end of the rainbow, we do have to take a step back and understand there needs to be a basic decorum here and some basic respect here. And it's so counterproductive and destructive. It's very easy for me to just stand on the sidelines and just not get involved at all. But I care about this project. I care about its perception, and I care about us getting a fair shake and having a bit of an experience dealing with the crypto media that has a long history with Cardano for some reason of being dishonest about it. We can't walk into, as a community, self-inflicted wounds, traps. The point of decentralization is that you have to admit that sometimes things are a little slower, and you have to create structures to allow people to be heard. That's the point of Catalyst, which helps set priorities and get funding behind those priorities. That's the point of saying things like these SBOs have to upgrade because it creates thousands of actors who are now involved in the discussion of when and how to do a hard fork event. The point of testnets is for these things to run. Obviously, that system needs to be updated and revamped, and there needs to be improvements to it. This is the discussion that's ongoing right now that you're a part of. And we do try on a regular basis to reach out and talk to people and engage with people, in some cases daily. In some cases, special groups are created just to have those ongoing conversations again and again and again. And I've always viewed this as a value add and a plus. And you know, if I had all the time in the world, I'd love to spend a whole year, 2 years cleaning and polishing Cardano. I'd love to just do nothing but write code and develop and say, all right, we'll come back to it later. But it's not my call. It's not my choice. This is a diverse ecosystem, and it is a product that is used by millions of people. It's listed on over 200 exchanges. There's over 1,000 projects under construction at this very moment, deploying or have already deployed on Cardano. There are over 5 million NFTs issued on Cardano. This is a big ecosystem. And there's a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of divergent interests. A lot of people say move quickly. A lot of people say slow down. A lot of people say we'd like this feature. A lot of people say we'd like that feature. It's a big ecosystem. So the best we can do in trying to be a steward and manage this chaos is to create channels for people to express themselves. And there definitely are channels for the SPOs. If they can be better, let's talk about how to make those better. We certainly can. But again, it is not productive to go and just ignore all those channels and go to YouTube and into Reddit and to Twitter. Because again, you will not achieve anything. It's not going to change the process. It's not going to change the discussion, the debate, and the dialogue. All it's going to do is create a situation where catastrophic bug Cardano is the end result. And that's what we got to. I'm not happy about it. It's insulting to all the people who worked so hard to get us where we're at. And it's just a mess to clean up now. And I don't think you are either. So tomorrow I'm going to wake up and we're going to work, as we do every day, hard at getting us over the finish line and getting Vasil out. We'll continue the dialogue with the SPOs. I know there's a lot of test scenarios they want to run. Okay. we'll try to work with them to make sure that all those things get done. And again, ultimately, it's the decision of the SPOs of when and how to update. I frankly feel, and we've done it on our notes, that 135.3 is ready for prime time. And it's your call because it's a decentralized ecosystem of when and how to do that. And of course, we'll engage with the media and try to get rid of this FUD, Cardano catastrophic bug. And it's just another day in the office. Moving forward, things do need to change for future hard forks. So there are several SIPs that are coming, and there's a more structured process that's coming. We're right now authoring those, and hopefully we should have all of those SIPs done by the end of September for your review. It'll go through the normal SIP process. The SIP reviewers will take a look at it, but it'll be a collection of different things about how to ask for an update proposal, for the community to vote on it, and then for a bicameral model where the SPOs have to formally announce it. So there's some stake weighting behind it. And then if that works, then I think we'll be in a better position. Now, in terms of the ongoing dialogue between the SPOs and our comms teams and our engineering teams, I thought the system was pretty good that we had, but we're going to revisit that and look at it as well. In terms of a postmortem on these types of things, there obviously will be a postmortem of how it slipped through 135. And, you know, when that's ready, it's ready. But it probably won't be ready for a while because there's a lot of deep conversations that have to be made through. There's not a lot left on the Getting Cardano Done backlog. There are things like peer-to-peer and Genesis and so forth, which have been long-standing things. And I'm as frustrated as you are at times that we haven't quite gotten that where it needs to be. But they're known artifacts. They're there, and they will get done. And then moving beyond that, we can get to a new process, a new system, and a new roadmap, and ultimately a new governing body, members-based organization that's interconnected with community voting, where things can be done in a much more structured way now that there are millions of people to harness from. This is the path and the direction that everything has been moving forward to. I love Cardano. I love this community, and I really do enjoy the time I've spent here and the things I've done, and I really do enjoy building things, and I really do enjoy sitting down trying to solve hard problems, of which there are many. I really do. I detest these types of things because it's a no-win situation. It really is. Nothing that can ever be said or done is ever good enough. And he received enormous amounts of criticism, in many cases for things that I'm not even responsible for. They apparently, people on Reddit are saying that I lack emotional intelligence, or I'm not a leader because I don't take the blame for when Vasil ships or not. Yet at the same time, we say it's decentralized ecosystem, and I keep shouting to people that think before you talk. This space has terrible, terrible ramifications when people misspeak or they say things that can be taken out of context. It's a very adversarial space. It's not a friendly, kind, happy space. For whatever reason, we live in a space where it's not good enough to disagree with people. People get vilified. People get called criminal. People are told that they're a scammer on a daily basis, that everything that we've accomplished means nothing. People don't get given credit. Even today, the Ethereum ecosystem is lying. They say, come September 15th, we're going to be the first people to really do proof of stake. That's news to Polkadot. That's news to Tezos. That's news to Cardano. That's news to all the people that have done proof of stake before Ethereum. And the media is going to let them get away with it because they're big enough to do that. It's where we're at. It's the ecosystem we're in. When we grow up and mature as an ecosystem, we will no longer be there. But because we are there today, every single person in this decentralized movement has to take a step back and understand that and be more careful. I haven't been in many cases historically, which is why there are certain parts of the space they will never, ever give me a fair shake, ever. Ask on cryptocurrency Reddit, who is Charles Hoskinson? You will not get a single person there that's really in love with who I am. And there's nothing I can do or say to change that opinion. It's fossilized. And in many cases, there's many people who have looked at Cardano among the same light. And they say, well, it's all these things. And you show all the evidence to the contrary, and they say, well, no, that just can't be true. It's all lies. That is our industry in a nutshell. This is where we're at. And the only way we get out of it is to grow out of it and to bring in new people and to get out of this ossified tribalist core that seems to be dominating the conversation. The Team Orange versus everybody else, the Ethereum versus everybody else, the VC coins versus the non-VC coins, the peer proof of work coins versus the proof of stake coins, and so forth. As you guys are stepping into a position of power and prominence, you're going to have to learn these lessons, and I hope you don't make the same mistakes I've made during my tenure in a more custodial role, now moving to a different role. Is that, unfortunately, this industry has a lot of growing to do. Now, we can take the higher road as a community, and we have historically done so, which is why we focus so much on peer review. It's why we focus so much on the use of formal methods. It's why we focus so much on process. And we've outlined meticulously a beautiful vision for many things. It, at times, has taken a lot more time to roll out than we would have liked. We had the best of intentions as an ecosystem, but it just turns out that some of these things are a lot harder than we thought. But at the time, we thought we could do them. And that's okay. It's the nature of doing new things and revolutionary things. And reasonable people can forgive and forget and embrace the future. Unreasonable people can't. But now you have to think about these things. The way you communicate about Cardano could be, in some cases more so, is more impactful in terms of perceptions and hearts and minds than the way I communicate about Cardano. That's what we've learned here in the last few days. So think about that. Think about it and really rock it and push it through. That we're in a new project. We're in a new beginning. You know, there's a new way of going about things. You have an impact. You have a say. You have a lot of power now as an ecosystem and as a community. And things that you think are innocent may not be received that way or treated that way and could have an impact. So we all have to be a little bit more careful in that respect, myself included. Okay? And for the most part, I think we're up for it, and I think we're the best equipped community for it. We can probably steer this narrative back to what it really is, which is an example of the decentralization of Cardano and a reason why Cardano truly is the most decentralized ecosystem. I also hope this will prove to the people in the Ethereum crowd and other places that seem to repeat this again and again that Cardano definitely isn't a cult of personality around me. It's very clear that the community is in charge here, not me. If you witness the things over the last 48 hours, 72 hours, we do not have the power to flip a switch and tell you what to do. You decide that. And it's very clear the community is independent in that respect, and they're in charge of the protocol. So that's a positive, I suppose, from this whole thing. And it's a teachable moment for everybody. So anyway, I'm going to get back to work. And tomorrow will be another day, and Monday is going to be another day. Vasil will come, hopefully very soon. And then we can get to the business of building the next update and finishing the rest of the GCD, and then talking about how do we make Cardano a fourth generation cryptocurrency and get it to the next level, and how do we improve all the things, and we're going to do that together as a community. Thank you very much.